Hello, welcome into the Starcaster Mark Studios. I am Ryan, one of the three brothers of the podcast, and this is the AGR for game number 16. Can't believe we're already on game 16 of the season. The Stars played the Blues this evening. Final score 3-1 in favor of the Stars. Definitely no 4-1. 4-1. I'm already getting that wrong, right? Already forgetting the empty net goal. Anyways, we are brought to you by DraftKings. Make sure you use the promo code THPN next time you go and use their app for a special little something, little offer from them, and that lets them know that we are the ones that sent you. We appreciate that if you would do that. And with that, let's bring in James. Hey, James, how you doing tonight, bud?
I'm doing good.
Chris is not able to be with us tonight because of some internet issues, so go figure. But he is with us here in spirit, and I'm sure he's listening to us right now. Anyways, James, fantastic game overall for the Stars. There's a lot of storylines coming out of the game tonight. There's the play of Rope Hens, the play of Jake Ottinger, and that whole thing with, him being possibly sent back down when Holtby's ready to go again. There's the special teams battle. What was your biggest takeaway from tonight's game?
I mean, personally, this was one of those games I just kind of like sat back and watched and enjoyed the entire thing. Like, it was just a fun game to watch. So it was a great effort from the Stars tonight.
And I definitely enjoyed the play of the two guys that I mentioned already. Mr. Jake Ottinger and Mr. Rope Hens. But how about the play of Jamie Benn as well? Jamie Benn was fantastic tonight. And then, somebody that hasn't really been, out there as much and who we haven't really talked about a ton is the play of Michael Raffel. Michael Raffel has been an excellent pickup for the Stars. And honestly, probably the best pickup for the Stars this offseason when it comes to offense. Not expecting a ton from him, but he shows up on the score sheet tonight.
Yeah, he had some crazy good feeds to Hens on the penalty kill tonight. So.
Yep. And so let's go ahead and just get straight into this game here, James. So let's just go over the goals here real quick. The first period, it was basically through the whole first two periods, but it was completely riddled with penalties, and especially the second period. We'll get to that here in a second. But the first period, the first 5-ish minutes, I was very scared. And how the Stars came out and played, they weren't pushing very well. Didn't seem like they had their legs under them. But throughout the rest of the 15 minutes after we got that first power play, it really seemed like the Stars started to click. They started to get their legs under them a little bit, and we had full momentum going the other way throughout the 3 quarters of the first period.
Yeah, for sure. And even in that first 5 minutes, it wasn't like the Blues were like dominating. It was like neither team was playing great, and they were just both trading chances back and forth. So that first period, the first couple of minutes was really kind of weird to watch because normally you have quick whistles or something, but there wasn't a whistle for probably like 4 minutes.
It would be a very good thing if there was not a missile. Hopefully there was no missile.
Hopefully there's no missiles.
Because if it was a missile, it would probably be a shot from Colton Parenko. That would be one thing we would not want to see if you're a Dallas Stars fan. So anyways, other than the first period, what did you think about generally from the play in the first period?
I mean, it felt like Bennington kind of just robbed that period from us. Because really, after the first 5 minutes, it felt like the Stars were dominating that entire period. And the fact that the score remained 0-0 after 20 minutes is just absurd. So.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and throw a shameless plug for Jordan Bennington tonight. As much as Stars fans, completely dislike him and how much of a baby I think he really is, he is really the sole reason why this game was even close, going into the third period. So, and especially the play of the first period, he was rock solid. I mean, fantastic for the St. Louis Blues. But let's go ahead and move into the second period. The second period, We were getting a lot of chances and stuff, and I was a little scared that the Stars weren't up by a goal or two going into the first, but again, we had full momentum going into the second, and it translates into the first goal of the game for Jamie Benn, his fifth of the year from Suter and Garyanov, and it looked like it was gonna be Suter's goal, but I'm still not sure looking at the replay if it hit Ben's hand or something. But after listening to Razor said that it apparently went off his elbow or something like that. So it's a goal for Ben.
That's what it looked like. It's a weird shot from the point that bounces off high on someone and goes in. So it's not really something that you're gonna expect as a goaltender, and it's just Ben kind of getting lucky and Suter shooting at the right time. So.
Well, sometimes you just need to be in the right place at the right time, and Ben happened to be at the right place at the right time for that. So, anyways, like we said earlier, that second period was completely riddled with penalties, and I think there was only about 11 and a half minutes of 5-on-5 time in that second period. And this is also after one of the linesmen went down, so. There was only one ref calling all the penalties. But anyways, the Stars go on the penalty kill, which looked fantastic tonight, by the way. We'll get to that in a second. But Rope Hint scores his fourth of the year from Raffle and Lindell. That puts the Stars up 2-0. And it's the Stars' first shorthanded goal of the season. And it was a great pass. It was a great shot. And, nothing on Bennington there. There was no way he was getting that.
Yeah, it was a great fake by Raffle. He had the little tiny leg lift fake shot and then pass over to Hintz, who puts it in the right spot. It's a great pass by Raffle.
And then this leads to about 2 minutes later, the Stars go on the penalty to kill again for like the fourth or fifth time that period or whatever. And, within the first couple of seconds of that particular penalty, Brandon Saad scores from David Perron and Torrey Krug. It's his seventh of the year, and honestly, there's nothing on Ottinger on that one. It was a fluky goal. It pretty much like sailed over his head. It's sort of kind of like the Ben goal in a way, the way that you look at it, right? What would you say about that?
I mean, yeah. This one's a little bit more grunt work by Saad, beating out the stick checks and stuff and getting his stick on the puck, and he gets a little lucky on it and it floats right over top of Otter.
So again, nothing on Otter there. Can't blame Otter for that one. And going into the second intermission, the Stars are up 2-1 in a game that I don't know about how you felt about this, James, but I really felt that we clearly could have been up 4-1, 5-1 going into the second intermission. And again, I'll say it again, Bennington was fantastic tonight, and if it wasn't for him, we'd be up. And that made me slightly worried going into the third period with just a 1-goal lead.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's what made it such an exciting game to watch, though, was the fact that Bennington was just playing out of his mind, along with all the great chances, and it's why in a low-scoring game is why it felt so exciting the whole time.
So going into the third period, once again, it scares me to death. We take a penalty very early on in the period within the first 5 minutes, and Rope Hintz does it again. And Michael Raffle does it again. And just looking at the replays of that was one of the most beautiful passes I've seen. It was a beautiful saucer pass to Rope Hintz. And it almost looked like for a split second that Rope Hintz was going to return the favor and let Raffle score. But Hintz scores his fifth of the year. That's his second shorthanded goal of the game, second of the season from Raffle. And again, it's another shorthanded goal for the Stars, and the Stars go up 3-1.
Yeah, that was a beautiful saucer, and then Bennington's over to try to get the save on it, and Hintz just puts it right over him. It was awesome to see, and that's Hintz's fifth goal in 5 games. So after he scores one, now he's on a tear. So
let's keep it going. And then throughout the third period, what I did appreciate about the Stars here is that they did the same thing that they did in the two regulation wins, not the game against the Wild, but the two games before the Wild game, and they kept pressuring and they kept putting offensive pressure, in the opposite zone. I mean, if you're putting up offensive pressure in the offensive zone, it's not in your zone, and that's probably one of the best ways to prevent goals. And it was sort of kind of boring. There were still some chances both sides. The Stars had a couple of hiccups and a couple of bad turnovers, but Jake Ottinger was there to kind of mop it up and make sure that the Stars kept their 2-goal lead. And then who else but Jamie Benn? He scores his second of the game, gets the empty netter, and that puts the Stars up 4-1, and that's the end of the game. What did you think of that? The third period in general.
I mean, it's just really after that second shorthanded goal from the Stars, it really killed any type of momentum that the Blues had going into the rest of the period, and it just deflated the rest of the game for them.
So let's go ahead and talk about some of the storylines coming out of this game, because there's quite a few. There's a lot. I do want to start with the whole Riley Tufte situation. So both you and I, we both watched the Steve Dingle podcast talk about this whole situation with Riley Tufte and Rick Bowness. There's still a lot of people that are still kind of hacked off about it. After kind of letting it sit for 24 hours, 48 hours or so, what are your feelings about this still? Do you still think Rick Bowness was kind of a butt-headed move for him to do that? Are you fine about it? What's your feelings about the whole Riley Tufte situation before we get into the storylines from this game?
So a lot of this for me, like listening to what the Steve Dangle podcast was saying, they were like, it's the 15th game of the season, things are going bad, you got to put the best people on the ice, right? Which, like, I understand that, right? That makes total sense, and it's a bad situation for Tufte to be in, whether he plays or not, because it's not guaranteed. But what frustrated me,
it's a fourth liner for a fourth liner, right?
Yeah,
generally.
Yeah. Well,
Kiviranta for Tufte. That's how I felt about it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I interrupted you.
And what really frustrated me was the press conference they had with Bowness afterwards, where he said that it really wasn't his decision. He said, I don't remember the exact quote, but he said he got to the ice and the lineup had changed, and basically tried to push it off on someone else. And if he just comes out and he's like, yeah, we put Kiwi in instead Tufte, we thought it would give us a better chance of this game. Like, I would be totally okay with that, I think. But the fact that he's still, it feels like he just tries to like push the blame off of on other people right now, and that's really frustrating to see.
It's more like he's trying to be a manager instead of being a leader, if that kind of makes any sense, right? So he's like an assistant coach being a head coach. Is I think something that I think it might have been Chris that said something like that. But the thing I was really frustrated about with that, and they mentioned this on the Steve Dangle podcast, was it's still ultimately your decision. I mean, you're the head coach. So you can't really push that off on somebody and say, oh, well, Dave Zeiss, our athletic trainer or whatever his job is within the organization, he's the one that told me that Kiviranta is good to go and that, he should be in the lineup and all that sort of stuff. But the other thing is, when I was thinking about that, is I don't think that Bones is like that, if that makes any sense. I don't think he, in his mind and how we're taking it, that he's pushing that off on somebody else. I don't think he's intentionally doing that.
Well, he's definitely not intentionally doing it, but that's what he did. Like, that's exactly what he said in the press conference, and it.
Right, but so some of that I think that needs to be quelled down a little bit from people being really upset with Bones. I'm still upset with Bones of the whole situation because it wasn't handled well, in my opinion. And You mentioned the press conference about Riley Tufte, and after the game, he seemed annoyed when he was asked questions about the whole Riley Tufte situation. He seemed very annoyed that he was asked questions about that, and that frustrates me even more because, this is a 23-year-old kid. He's getting to play his third NHL game in front of his friends and family, people who have helped him get to where he is. His son was going to be there and have a Dallas Stars jersey that said "Daddy" on the back, and he didn't get a chance to do that. So obviously he's going to be asked a question about that. But anyway, what are some of your other thoughts on that?
I mean, in the end, it's more of an unfortunate situation. Could have been avoided, wasn't avoided. Should have taken ownership for that, but didn't. Don't do it again. Bad bonus.
Agreed. I think that he should have taken ownership of that decision instead of pushing it off. But again, I don't think he was doing that maliciously towards David Zeiss. But if that was Dave Zeiss, I'd be like, dude, what the heck, man? You're pushing that decision off on me and making me look bad. So he should have just said, I thought that this was the right decision, and he didn't do that. So, anyways, let's get to because there were still people on Twitter talking about that today. So I just wanted to very quickly mention that before we get into some other stuff. So I think probably one of the biggest takeaways from this game for me was obviously special teams. And the fact that, the Stars and the Blues both, they're top 5 in power play percentage in the year. And the Stars are for the most part, they're able to quell the power play of the Blues. And not just quell the power play of the Blues, but get 2 shorthanded goals of their own.
Yeah, it's been a great two last games for special teams in particular. Obviously, last game was awful other than special teams, but being able to hold the Blues down to just 1 and 6 and then score 2 on them in those 6 is insane. So it was a crazy night for special teams. In fact, the whole game was played on special teams. So
right, and that was the one thing I was frustrated about as well. Is I felt that the game. I mean, on both sides, there were some penalties that I was like, okay, yeah, like that slashing call was stupid on Jamie Benn. He definitely shouldn't have done that. And then the high stick, that was also pretty stupid. But there were some plays I was just like, really? Normally they let those kind of things go. And tonight, I don't know who was actually calling the penalties tonight, but it seemed like it was very called by the rule book, and it was like you were not getting away with anything. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, and I think that just stems from the one ref knowing he's the only ref calling penalties on the night, and he's trying to keep control of the game. So you get games like that where a lot of the game is played on special teams, and then you have other nights like the Blues had 2 games in their last couple of games that had no penalties. So it changes night to night. It depends on officiating. It's just how it goes.
Well, I did really appreciate the fact that the Stars did continue to push on the power play, and we talked about the penalty kill, and the penalty kill looking pretty good for the most part tonight, and then obviously the 2 shorthanded goals really help as well. But the Stars continue to click on the power play too. They went 1 for 4 tonight, and there was, honestly, there was only one power play where I was like, and not too good, and I think it was the last one where we spent about a minute and a half in the offensive zone and didn't really get any shots on it. But the other 3, especially that first one in the first period, I think that really got us going, which is the complete opposite of the game against the Wild, where the Wild got the first power play and then the Wild never looked back. So we took advantage of that, and that was really nice to see that from the Stars tonight.
Yeah, and a big part why the game wasn't decided in the first period was just because Bennington was playing out of his mind. Like that first power play was crazy good. We had like at least 3 chances, I feel, that could have gone in the back of the net and just didn't. So
well, and we also neglected to mention the really good save by Bennington on Alexander Radulov on the penalty shot. If I mean, he fooled them. Everybody thought he was going to go backhand because Radulov goes backhand on everything when it comes to a shootout or a penalty shot or whatever. And if it goes back to what Razor says all the time: if you do not elevate, you will not accumulate. So, if Radulov had just elevated the puck over the pad, that would have been a great goal. But Bennington came up large on that particular goal as well.
Yeah, and Radulov is a touchy subject, I'll say right now. He still doesn't have a goal yet this season. So he's been struggling a lot this season, which is when I saw that he missed the penalty shot, it really frustrated me just because I know that he hasn't been what even he was last season when he played I think he played 12 games and had 7 points still. But he I don't know how he's gonna get back to that, and I don't know if he is, but I'm hoping he can.
So special teams was a huge thing tonight, but let's go ahead and get into another touchy subject, especially for Stars Twitter and Stars social media. Let's get in the Ottinger conversation. Ottinger, I still don't understand the decision to start Hudobin over Ottinger in the game against the Wild. I understand the Wild are, one of the best teams in the NHL. They lost tonight, but they lost to another really good team in the Florida Panthers. And I still just don't understand the whole, let's not start a guy who had a really good game last game. And he gets to start tonight. Perfect word that I think I can think of and that Razor used to describe Ottinger's performance tonight. What did you think of Jake Ottinger and how he did this evening, James?
I mean, tonight he was insane in terms of just stats in general. I mean, he faces 36 and saves 35. So you really couldn't ask more from him tonight. Maybe they weren't the most dangerous shots ever, but he was there for all of them. So the one that gets past him is a flutter puck that bounces over his head. So besides that, he's perfect tonight. You can't ask more.
And particularly, there were a lot of things that I noticed in the third period when the Stars were really, just trying to get the puck out of their own zone. There were a couple of times when they turned the puck over at the blue line, and Ottinger was there to kind of mop up and make sure that nothing went in. So, it just adds more to the question about the Stars' net and whose net it belongs to. At least for Stars fans. It might not be for Bonus. Bonus may say it's still Hudobin and Holtby's net. But does the two performances by Jake Ottinger, does that put any kind of doubt in the minds of the coaching staff? Who should be in the net right now?
It's not really a question at this point. If Otter's going to play that good every night, for right now he's starting, and especially with Holtby being not back in the lineup yet. It's Otter's net right now. Dobby, I think so. I'd been thinking about the decision to put Dobby in net, and yeah, he came off of a sickness, but again, he had the good game against the Flyers. So I'm thinking maybe the coaching staff are or Bonus maybe in particular is let's not play the young guy, right? Because Bonus and just play Dobby because he had a good night 2 nights ago. Just flip back and forth. I think that's what he was going to go with, but he kind of shot himself in the foot with it. And right now, Dobby is not going to get a chance unless Otter rests up.
So I mean, do you take that game, that 7-2 game against the Wild, and just say that was just a one-off for Dobby? We talked about this in the last AGR about, just shove this game off to the side. This is not the real Stars. Chris said this wasn't the real Stars. I said I was thinking more it probably was. But specifically hone in on Dobby. Was that Dobby the one that we should expect for the rest of the season? Maybe not as bad, but should we expect him to be above average?
I don't think that Dobby is going to be an average goaltender. I think he played atrociously in the game against Minnesota, and I think that is a one-off game for him. That's like that's probably his worst game he has ever played in the NHL. Like, there's no way that's going to happen again with him. It's not going to be 7 goals. He might have more 5-goal, like, let in 5 goals or 4 goals. And honestly, if he's going to be a backup, that's going to happen, right? But I definitely, the fact that 7 goals goes in on him is a bad night for him. I chalked it up to be it was the worst game he's ever played, and he's probably not going to play that bad again.
But should we still expect him to be average, or do you think he still lets in more goals than he used to, like when we saw him in the bubble playoffs?
I think he will let in. He's going to let in at least 3 goals every game. I right now I can't see him
Just expect
winning.
that.
Yeah, I just expect him to let in 3 goals every night. And if it's 4, okay, yeah, sure, that makes sense. If he only lets in 2, that's like a good night for him, in my opinion. So probably a little below average, in my opinion. But I mean, with tonight, we could have won with just 3, I think.
So here's a question for you. Who starts the next game? Is it Otter? Is it Holtby coming back, or is it Hudobin?
If Holtby comes back, Holtby's going to start, and Otter's going to be the backup. If Holtby doesn't come back, Otter's going to start because Hudobin just had such a bad game against Minnesota, like, without a doubt. And it's such like a tough situation because I don't know why they don't want to play Otter in the NHL. I don't know if they do it for cap reasons or what, but if Dobby's not going to be here next year.
Sorry, guys. We lost James there for a second. But anyways, there's James. He's back. We are having a lot of internet issues over the past couple days.
Yeah,
anyways,
sorry about that.
Go ahead and say what you were saying.
So what I was saying was I think Holtby plays if he comes back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't, Otter's in net just because of how bad Dobby played in the Minnesota game. But if Holtby comes back, I think they might send Otter back down to the AHL, honestly.
My goodness, that would blow my mind.
I just with how they've been handling Otter, they don't seem to want to give him the team yet. They don't want him to play in the NHL yet. I don't know why. Maybe after this game they change their minds, but I don't see them doing it yet. So
now I will be honest and say that the games that Otter has played, he's looked good, but the team in front of him has also played better. So, and not to say that the Stars played bad in front of Hudobin, because I mean they didn't play as well as they did in front of Ottinger, but I still thought that they played well enough to possibly win that game against the Wild, but Dobby didn't show up. So I mean I don't know what to think about that. I really, what I think is going to happen is Holtby is going to come back. He's going to get the start on Tuesday. Is that the next game? I can't remember.
Yes, it's on Tuesday.
It's on Tuesday. Okay, so it's on Tuesday, and I think he would get the start. But if Holtby is not ready, I really, really hope they will, consider putting Otter back in, because the team seems to play better in front of Otter than they do in front of Dobby. So we'll see how that situation kind of works itself out. It might already be worked out with the way that Jim Nill and Rick Bowness are thinking, but we'll see how all that works out. Anyway, I mean, speaking of players who did really well tonight, Ottinger looked fantastic, but how about the play of some of these other guys? I mean, specifically, I'm thinking Rope Hintz. I'm thinking Jamie Benn. I'm thinking Michael Raffle. I'm thinking Hockenpah. Hockenpah had a really good game and way better game than the game against the Wild. So, uh, pick a player and talk about how they did tonight. And it doesn't have to be one of those four guys that I mentioned.
I mean, honestly, you could pick almost anyone tonight. It was just everyone. I don't know what it was, but everyone responded to whatever was going on tonight, and everyone was on their toes. Everyone was playing, and it was a spectacular game to watch. And they played awesome, and they had a handle on the game the whole time. It felt like, and they end up winning 4-1. So
I really think my favorite player from tonight's game was Michael Raffle. Just because we didn't expect all of this from him, this offensive output that he's having. He's not having a huge offensive output. I'll give him that, but he's been a very good addition to this Stars team. And not only is he looking good on the penalty kill, and obviously the 2 assists on the Rope Hintz goals tonight, but he's been really good as that third part of the Ben line along with Gurianov. That line, the three of them seem to complement each other very, very well, and that seems like a line that you can put up against another team's top line and shut them down, but also maybe get some offense out of that line as well. So I really love the way that Michael Raffle is playing right now. What do you see out of Michael Raffle over either today or over the past couple of weeks?
I mean, Chris is gonna say that like Raffle's just lucky, right? But
Right, bull crap. Well,
but tonight it definitely wasn't luck. He had two beautiful passes to Hintz, and in both of them off of his own poke to get it out of his own on a shorthanded chance. It was he was looking for the offense tonight, and he found it. And when he found it, he helped sink it every time. So he had a great night tonight.
yeah, that second pass on the second shorthanded goal from Hintz, that was like icing on the cake. It was absolutely beautiful. It was like, man, I watched it and I was just like, wow, that was absolutely perfect. So, anyways, I'm loving his play. Jamie Benn is starting to really show up on the score sheet more often over the past couple of games. And I don't think it's a coincidence also that he got moved back to center after playing left wing. So I think with Robertson coming back, that allowed Rick Bowness to have more flexibility to allow Ben to play the center position again. And I really don't think that's a coincidence that he's starting to put up more on the score sheet and, just look good in general. Ben looked like the only good Dallas Stars player that showed up through all three periods against the Wild on was it Thursday? Thursday. So, and it continued tonight. The only difference tonight is that everybody seemed to follow suit, and they didn't follow suit, the game on Thursday. So, what about Jamie Benn? What do you think about his play today?
Yeah, it's funny because on the score sheet he's still labeled as left winger, even though he's still playing center he's been playing center for like the last 4 games. But just the what was crazy to me was in the first period of this game, he had that awful turnover where he had the puck in the defensive zone. All of his teammates skate out because they're like, "Oh, it's Ben. He won't turn it over." Turns it over. The dudes they get like a 2-on-0. Dude's wide open with the pass, and Ben dives back to lift the dude's stick to save his own butt. It was he was not taking, and he was not going to be the problem tonight. He was outstanding. His determination on that play was just crazy to see, because he's one of the older guys, and you see him diving back like that to fix his own mistake is it was so awesome.
Right. So I will mention that yes, he had two really stupid penalties in the third period. Yes, he had that turnover that you just talked about, but he's showing up in all aspects of the game right now. He's showing up on the score sheet with goals. He's getting assists out there. He's showing up physically. He co-led the team with 3 hits tonight. His face-off percentage is excellent. He's playing in every situation of the game, whether it's on power play, whether it's on the penalty kill, whether it's 5-on-5, and he's done fantastic in that. And in order for this Stars team to get out of this funk that they're in, this quote-unquote 500 hockey that they're playing right now, he has to be a huge catalyst for this team to be successful going forward. And at least right now, it's showing. It's showing.
Yeah, and for me, it comes down to it, which is why I pointed out the diving stick lift. It comes down to his determination. This season, he's looked way more determined than last year when we were in our little divisional bubbles, kind of, and just playing against the same team over and over again. You didn't see a lot coming from him. Even when nights he would score, it felt like maybe he had a good night offensively, but he just didn't. It didn't feel like the same way. But he's been playing in my opinion with a lot more determination, and when other players see that, it's easier to motivate them with that, and it works even better when you actually score with it too. So the fact that he's been scoring and he's been all over the ice recently, it's been awesome to see.
And it's amazing that we've gone this far and we haven't even really talked about him that much. But we very briefly mentioned it. But the other 2-goal guy in the game tonight, Mr. Rope Hintz. Like you mentioned, 5 goals in the last 5 games after going the previous 9 or 10 without a goal or without a point even. I think or very few points in that matter. And again, he's another player that if the Stars are going to be successful, that he has to be our elite offensive player. Shots, 2 excellent goals, and he got it from the stick of Michael Raffl tonight. So you got to love the play of Rope Hintz lately. So, James, what did you think about the play of Rope Hintz over the past week or so?
I mean, is it a surprise that when he starts scoring, we win 3 out of 4? Like,
nope.
He starts scoring and suddenly we can win games again. So it's awesome to see him, and I freaking called it the game before his first goal.
You totally did in the second period
he's gonna score. It's crazy. He's been outstanding, and he's showing that he's not gonna get snake bitten again, at least for now, which is awesome. And hopefully we can keep riding him and the rest of and Raffl and Ben, all those people right now, and hopefully we can ride them and get some more wins under our belt.
So we mentioned a couple of players that were really good in the game tonight, but let's mention a couple of players that might not have been too hot. And maybe not too hot is the wrong word to use. This is our dad. Dad says, "Where was Sagan tonight? I was watching it with no sound, so may have just missed him." You really didn't, honestly, Dad. Because the thing about Sagan is that he just hasn't been noticeable. I guess is the word I would use. At least he hasn't been noticeable, in a bad way where he's turning the puck over a ton or whatever. But we haven't seen a ton from him offensively that we were hoping to see. And maybe that goes back to him getting over his surgeries that he had over the offseason. He really didn't play but 3 games last season when we were trying to get into the playoffs. And as soon as we knew we were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, we didn't see Sagan for the rest of the year. What does Tyler Sagan need to do to start putting the puck in the back of the net or start contributing offensively? Or is he doing okay with what he's doing right now?
You say that he's not contributing offensively, but he has the most goals on the team with 5, and he's tied for second in points with 9. So we haven't felt him.
Maybe he's quietly doing it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, we haven't felt him in the last couple of games, but he has been putting up offense. It's just not to the same extent as we would probably expect him to, which is maybe why we're not noticing him as much. I mean, Heiskanen has just been insane so far this year, 13 points so far, and he leads the team with that. But it's a tough right now. It's a tough line for him to be on too. It was him, Radulov, and Peterson, right, on a line tonight.
Him, Glendening, and
Radulov, I think. Right?
No, I don't think it was Radulov. I think it was Kiwi. It was him.
So he was playing on the fourth line.
Glendening. Sort of, kind of. Yeah, yeah. I guess he was in a way, but he's still got 17 minutes of ice time tonight, 17 and a half. So it's not like he didn't get his chances.
Yeah, tonight he was skating around a lot. Maybe he's playing more of a defensive role in tonight's game. Maybe he was told to do that. We don't know, but in my opinion, he has been fine offensively, but not necessarily what we expect him to be up to.
Definitely not what he's getting paid right now. I think he's getting paid. I know his cap hit's like just around 10 million, give or take, $250,000. But I think he's actually getting paid about $13 million this season. So, we could definitely use a little bit more from Tyler Sagan in all of this. So, and one other thing I wanted to mention, and we'll call it a night because we gone pretty long tonight, but there's a lot to talk about. Was the face-off percentage. And when we talked about in the offseason, when we were getting ready for the season to start, is we wanted to see domination in the face-off dot. And for the most part, the Stars have been dominating in the face-off dot. But the difference that we saw tonight compared to some other games is not only did we dominate, but we were able to control the puck. And when you control the puck, you control the game. Normally, when you control the game, you're going to win the game because it means you're spending time in either getting it out of your own zone or you're spending time in their zone. So I loved what I saw in the face-off dot tonight. And just to throw the stat at you, the Stars won the face-off battle 61-39% tonight. That's a serious butt kicking. If you're a 60% plus in the face-off dot, that's an excellent in the face-off dot tonight. James, what did you think of all of that?
And that's the big reason why we were able to kill off so many penalties tonight, and last night as well, because we won the face-off battle last night too. I'm pretty sure was we're winning the face-offs on the penalty kill, and we're winning the face-off battle, and that you get a free 10 seconds off a penalty kill whenever you win the face-off and clear it. So
I would even say 15 seconds.
Yeah,
and that's an eighth of the penalty gone.
That's how we were winning in the beginning of the season, even without the 5-on-5 goals, which we don't have tonight. We were killing off penalties, and we were doing it on our power plays, and that's what we did tonight. So.
And just to throw this comment out there because it makes me look good. Ardell, dude, Ryan, how about your boy Raffle? You've been saying it all year. The guy is solid. Yeah, we already talked about him, but again, he's like I said in the last episode. I think he's my new Jason Dickinson. I love Jason Dickinson, and but he's kind of taken that spot for me. And being one of my favorite players on the Dallas Stars right now. So really, huge shout out to Michael Raffle right now and the way that he's playing.
And for me right now, I would argue that he's been better than Dickinson. He maybe doesn't have Maybe Dickinson was a little bit better on the defense, in my opinion, but he definitely wasn't better on the offense that we've seen from Raffle so far this season. So
Yeah, and I mean, Raffle has looked good offensively for us this year, and he's getting things and doing it in ways that we weren't expecting, and we can always use some extra depth scoring on a team that doesn't score very much. So, very glad to see that Michael Raffle's doing well. James, I think that's it. I think we've hit just about everything that we can for this game. Is there anything you want to mention real quick that we haven't mentioned that we should?
they play Edmonton on Tuesday at 7:30, and
Holy crap!
Edmonton's good at special
Please,
teams, so
please
we better
talk about
we
staying
better,
out of the box. Seriously, stay out of the box.
It's gonna be rough considering that we win most of our games on special teams. So we'll see how it goes.
So, and then not to mention that's on Tuesday, and then who comes in on Friday? It's another Colorado. Colorado comes in on Friday, and that game's at 6:30 if I remember correctly. So I'm gonna try to go to both of those. Maybe I'll be in Dallas for the week for Thanksgiving. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, guys, we're gonna go ahead and sign off for the evening. Along with James, I'm Ryan. Chris will be back with us hopefully on Tuesday. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure, once again, you go and use the promo code THPN on the DraftKings app. That lets them know that we sent you. We'd really appreciate that. And please make sure that you follow us on all of our podcast social media accounts. You can also follow James at JamesTheBomb02. You can follow me at StarsBoyd12. And we'll see you guys again on Tuesday. And we hope you guys have a good and fantastic evening. Catch you guys on the flip side.